Resume. All right, so that's our quick overview of where we're going to be hanging out. I will throw a couple shameless plugs out there. Working on getting a couple of boot camps ramped up. So this will be June boot camp for your account managers, your technical account managers, your VCIOs, all of those people, the folks who live and spend their life in lifecycle insights. Will teach you how to get a QBR out the door, from the basics of cleaning up your data, making sure that everything coming into the system is healthy, what reports have value, and how to present them to your customer, all the way through to how to get those reports out and what that looks like in a finished product. So we'll be covering that in that boot camp. And then of course we're doing a quick hit next week with just a 2-day budget boot camp. The 2-day budget boot camp is literally, for those of you who are not sure where to start, one of the most effective things we can do. We've seen this over and over from our partners, is get a budget put together and get one out to all of your customers. We're nearing up on the beginning of the new fiscal year for anybody whose clients are following that July to June fiscal year. So this is a great time to make sure we get their newest budget out in front of them. It's a cheap course. It's $50. We only charge for it to make sure that you actually show up for it after you sign up for it. But it is 2 days back to back. Each day is 2 hours. And it is literally, we present something, we give you 20 minutes to go work on it. We present something, we give you 20 minutes to go work on it. So when you walk out of this course, you're done. You know how to do the work. You've done it in the classroom, and you've gotten all your questions answered while we were there. So anybody have questions about either one of those boot camps while we've got them up? Okay. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. All right, so I guess we can jump in the platform. We're going to talk about all the different places that we're using tags in the platform today. So I want to really explore tags, and I would appreciate some feedback from you guys on whether or not you're using them, how successful you've been at deploying them, and if you've got any cool ideas where folks are using tags that we haven't come up with yet, or anything that you really want to show off that you're doing with tags. I would love some feedback and some input, because I think this is an underutilized feature at this point, and I always like to pick on underutilized features and see how we can't do more with them. So if we go poking through the system, we can see that we use tags in 3 different places. So we use them on recommendations, right? We've now included tags and recommendations. If you don't see this column, actually, there's no way for you to hide this column on this report. The roadmap, I think, has the ability to tweak and mess with some of the report options, but you should be able to see your tags floating around out here. We should be able to tell which recommendations support whatever's going on in our customer's environment. So it's as easy as drilling into one of the assessments, recommendations, and you can add new tags from here. If you want to create one that doesn't exist, you can literally type it here and hit enter after you've saved the recommendation. The other place that you can manage your tags is under account settings, manage tags. And if you go here, you'll see your assessment tags, your stack tags, and your recommendations tags. Recommendations tags is the one we were just looking at. But you can go into any of these at any time. You can edit these and make them a different color so that they really stand out. All right, if we've got 2 of them that are too close in color, ooh, that's a terrible color for the screen, isn't it? Maybe we want to make that a bolder color there. If we have 2 that kind of start to look the same, it's really easy for us to go in and change these and really show our customer something in a color that makes it stand out. Well, now it's too close to insurance, but you get the point. We can make these different from everything that we're doing. Anybody using tags on their recommendations to do something other than just let the client know what this recommendation solves for and whether or not it aligns with growth of their organization or a compliance goal, or in some cases an insurance requirement? Is everybody using these, and anybody have questions about them?
I think you showed us some time ago, Alex. We're using them ourselves to distinguish what is client responsibility, MSP responsibility.
Nice. So we talk about that on the risk assessment, but I hadn't thought about that over here on the recommendation side. That's an interesting one, right? Some of these things we're telling our client that they need to go do a policy and procedure, write up some new policy and procedures or something like that. But maybe we can't help them with it. Maybe it's something that's just stuck until they either write a check or get leadership involved or do something there. So responsibility is a great one. I always think about that one from the other perspective, right? As we get into assessments and talk about the things that we've failed on an assessment event, I think about using that set of tags over here which is the next place I was headed. So if you look at the item detail here, we can see tags broken out here. And I love to see folks coming through here and saying, this is a client ownership, this is an MS, this is MSP's ownership, like who owns this thing and what are you going to be able to do with it? Because when I move this report to report builder, I can actually filter by tags here and say, hey, show me which ones are client or which ones are MSP ownership, right? And if I tagged something customer, I could turn that tag on and I would be able to show them the ones that they own versus the ones that we own. And it's really common for our customers to try and push everything technology back on us. But in reality, we can't do everything for them. And it's just not a feature we can provide, right? So if I were to come out here and say, one of these is a customer responsibility, I could come down here and find something that's less than perfect. Or maybe we'll just make something less than perfect. And it is a customer responsibility. We're going to be able to now see that in that report as customer responsibility. And then if we turn on that filter, I can literally deliver to my customer a quick report that says, hey, here's the things that are wrong with your technology that I'm the only one, that you're the only one who can fix, right? I can't have enough impact to change that. And a note to self, we probably shouldn't have pink in one of the assessment, in one of the tag colors. As we move over here to this section, under assessment items, we see tags used for a bunch of different things, right? Responsibility is a great one. We're seeing folks use tags in like the CIS template, under the CIS template, to do implementation groups. So how should these be done? If my customer's just starting with me, maybe I only want to answer the questions that are related to implementation group 1. So I can literally come out here and say, here are the ones that contain IG1. Those are the only questions that I'm going to answer at this point. If a client moves up to IG2, we can answer just IG1 and IG2 or something like that. So there's a lot of changes that we can make here to be able to filter and sort based on what implementation group a customer might be in at any given time. Some other tags we've used here, let's see, we've made all kinds of silly ones just because we're showing demos to customers. But again, there are some engineering responsibilities, customer responsibility, MSP responsibility, those kind of things. We do have MSPs who are using these to identify how often they should be answering a particular question. They said, we have MSPs that audit their customers on 400 and 500 different assessment items, depending on the item. Some of them they audit every month, some of them they only audit annually. They do them at different cadences. So think about using it to say, hey, if it's been answered in the last month, we don't need to answer it again. If it's been answered in the last quarter, we don't need to answer it again. Technical responsibilities, VCIO responsibilities, etc. So lots of interesting places to use them here. It would be cool if we could relate recommendations to customer success goals. Maybe use tags for now. So you can actually relate a recommendation to a goal if you're in the customer success module. And this is there for those of you who have purchased the customer success module. If you go into your customer dashboard and come look at goals for a customer, and let's say that stability was my goal for the customer, I can actually come down here and say, okay, this is what we want to do for this customer. I can actually link a recommendation right here to say, hey, here is, in order for me to improve stability, we can do our Server 2012 migration to the cloud. And that will go ahead and link that. We don't do a good job of showing that, Brian, back on the other page, right? If I were to go back and look at this recommendation, I won't see the link here. And that's something that we intend to release in a future, or add in a future release, is the ability for you to see here that this supports a client goal. So I think there's a lot of power in that. But it would be very easy for you right now today to come out here and tag this as client goal, right? This is the other place where we can come and talk about tags. We could literally come in here and say, yep, that one is now related to a client goal. And now it's attached here. And when we go back and look at it on the other screen, it was, it feels like we ought to be able to do it from the other side just because of the way that we link everything else from that recommendation side, right? We have all those little drop downs where you can go attach things. So definitely something that on the UI we could clean up and give you a better way to visualize that. So we've talked about tags in two places, right? We talked about them in the recommendations. We talked about them on assessments. Let's go look at our final place that we use tags, which we were just kind of digging around in customer success. If you purchase the customer success module, then you notice that we build out what we call stack manager. And as we build out stack alignment for a customer or for our clients, we're going to be able to build out multiple stacks using tags. So if we go down to customer success account settings and we start to look at stack alignment. Yep, stack management. There we go. Under stack management, now we can start to build out the tags that are in use here. I had a really interesting call with a customer, I think it was yesterday, who asked me about stack alignment and how to do different stacks for different groups of customers. And his particular use case was, I don't necessarily need to sell a Palo Alto firewall to a customer with 5 people, right? They might be just fine with a Sonic wall, and we're big enough we're okay supporting some Sonic walls and some Palo Altos. So he actually started breaking out and setting up different services for a sub 25 client customer and tagging them as a sub 25 client standardized stack. So I thought that was a really interesting use case and a really interesting conversation. I think all of us have been in this boat, right? At my MSP, we weren't huge, but we had a number of rather large clients. So when we would go to our K-12 environments, we wanted to make sure we put in ruckus wireless gear, right? It was designed for high density. We could pack, 500 students in an auditorium, and we knew that it wouldn't buckle. We inherited a school that had ubiquity all over the place, and those access points just folded like a cheap suit every time we piled a bunch of kids into one room. And so the AP that we might have been okay with at that 5-person accounting office really was not the right AP for the auditorium in the larger organization. So give some thought to that. I thought it was a really interesting use, not only of tags, but one of the most creative uses I've seen of Stack Manager yet, where they started to identify different stacks for different types of customers or different sizes of customers. Does anybody do anything like that? Have some best practices to share? Anything you've seen work well or not work well at all? To me, this was one where one of my customers taught me something again, which is always fun.
Well, what we ended up doing in that case is we just made more, forget the scoring, I want to call it acceptable, but like, you might have 3 options of a given firewall that's acceptable.
Right. Yep.
But that doesn't point out the fact that
it's not acceptable if it's the wrong size client.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was what he was trying to solve for. So
yeah.
I thought it was a creative way to beat that. I went to him and said, well, you could make either Sonic Wall or WatchGuard acceptable. And he says, well, yeah, but WatchGuard might be acceptable for the small client. Sonic Wall is not acceptable in our world for that larger client or that higher compliance client. So I thought it was super interesting. So that was one that a client taught me this week, which those are always fun to me to come out here and share with the class and make sure that everybody learned something along the way. So there's your thought-provoking moment for the week. Has everybody been playing with the new business review scheduler component? We added a new function to the business review scheduler. Marnie ran around and talked to you guys about our new magic wand, but the traditional business review scheduler allowed each of you to take each client and put them on a cadence, right? They might be quarterly, they might be monthly, they might be semi-annually, whatever that cadence was. You could set one cadence for a customer. And if you came over here to defaults, you could see, hey, we've got a meeting set for this customer, and it is their meeting type is virtual, and they meet on the same cadence every time, and that's just how this is set. Well, they broke that, and by broke it, I mean made it better, so that now your little magic wand gives you the ability to see we have 2 different types of meetings for this customer. They happen on 2 different cadences, and they might even have different people involved in each one of them, right? So this is that use case where we may very well say, hey, we're going to have a strategic roadmap meeting with our client. We're going to talk big strategy. We're only going to do that twice a year. It's just not worth it for us to do it for this client more often than that. But every month, they're going to have a meeting with our service coordinator. And that service meeting is going to be, have we met your expectations? Have we done everything we're supposed to do? Are we meeting our SLAs? Are we closing tickets on time? In my experience, that is a really great way to handle folks who are experiencing a little service blip is to give them a different meeting cadence with different humans to make sure that they understand when I come show up for my strategic meeting, it's not the time for them to tell me that, that Brian was mean to Don on a service call, right? That's not the time to have a conversation about that. You save that call and you can talk about that on the service meeting that we have at a different cadence.
Alex, just a note on that. There
Yeah.
is a patch coming early next.
Did you break it already?
I found a undocumented feature. If you tried to change, if you clicked on the edit and tried to change it, like for example, I want to move that, say, to the first of the month, it generated 2 sets. So I heard from Jeff this morning that is fixed.
Looks like it's fixed.
Go hit save and then go to that client and look at all the meetings that are scheduled.
Oh, it doesn't delete the old ones when it
It
creates. the new
doesn't
ones
do
again?
these. Yeah. Found that little gem last week, but
My
yeah,
client
it's a
has
great
some-
feature.
The feature I have is that my client has so many meetings, you can't even find a new one. So, yeah,
It'll go out this weekend, Steve.
Yep. Yeah,
perfect.
so that's
Awesome.
good.
Good to hear, Jeff. Well, I just blew up our demo client, Jeff. We'll have to come in and hit the delete button a whole bunch of times. But I'm blaming Steve. Joe, you had a question?
Yeah. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yep.
So I have played with this a little bit. One little tweak I would like to see on there is if we could set the cadence instead of just by a particular date, because if you set that, and sometimes as depending upon where it is, it's going to fall like on a Saturday or a Sunday. So then you've got to change the date of the subsequent meeting. So if you could set it like on the 3rd Tuesday of May or what have you, that third Tuesday is always going to fall on the 3rd Tuesday.
Yep.
Down
Jeff,
the
I
line.
think that's already a feature request. I don't know if you can search for that and, put a couple of +1s next to it for all the folks here today that want to give that one a thumbs up. But
I'm thumbs up on that one for sure.
I think there's already a feature request around that one, but we'll
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's
we'll
out
go
there.
give it a
I
couple
got it.
extra votes to boot it up the food chain.
Awesome.
Great. That's awesome to see that you guys are already playing with that feature, because I was really excited to see that one come through, especially the fact that some of our clients are literally having weekly touch point calls with customers that aren't that are too close together for there to be any value of having a bigger strategic call on those cadences. But we're hearing more and more as folks move up the channel and move up the food chain into bigger and bigger accounts and do co-managed IT, that they're having to have weekly check-ins and weekly touch points. And you just can't build a strategic roadmap and talk about it every single week. You'd bore your client to death. But so this is a great function. Brian, I think this probably applies to you, where some of your clients are going to need a lot of different cadences and touch points as you keep getting into those bigger opportunities. Speaking of opportunities, we've been adding buttons. If you're a ConnectWise partner and you go look at your opportunities, you now have the ability to push an opportunity into ConnectWise as an opportunity instead of as a ticket. Autotask partners, don't fear. This will be coming for you as soon as Steve finds all the bugs in it and helps us document all of the undocumented features. As soon as Steve helps us document all the undocumented features, we'll get that moved over to you. Good deal, Aaron. Glad to hear it. That might have been our #1 most requested thing. So literally create new opportunity. Or link an existing ConnectWise opportunity. So I could literally jump in here, link an existing one that I already knew about, or I could come in here and create a new one. Cases where you might link an existing one. I know some of you guys are using the quoting systems and quoting tools and other things to push things back and around into ConnectWise. If you create an opportunity in QuoteWorks or Quozal or one of those quoting tools, you actually can come back here and link to it, and we'll use the existing link as opposed to updating a new one. So pretty interesting, pretty cool functionality there that we get to reach back into ConnectWise and grab things that get created by other tools. Any questions about this for those of you who are using it? All right. Jeff's reminding me that we added a feature that I wasn't even going to talk about today, but I am going to talk about it now. If you were using Report Builder to generate large reports, Sometimes some of these were painful, especially if you made them as long as some of mine are. So if we go build out this this report. Now, if I go to generate this report for export, we moved the export generation function to a background task. So let's say I want to dump this off to a PDF. This used to sit and spin and spin and spin, and you had to wait for it. If I want to just go ahead and download this now, we move this into a background task. So this should close itself and give me the ability to continue working. Should. Jeff, did I do that wrong? What was that supposed to do?
No, you didn't do it wrong. The report's big, so it's taking a second for the,
Okay. That's what I thought. There we
system
go.
to
There we go. Now
refresh.
it's shrunk it down. So now I can keep on working in the system. It'll alert me when that download comes. Yeah, I tend to build bigger reports than anybody else is going to, because I like to show off all the features and buttons and stuff that we got here. So wonder if it pulls the quote link into it, Richard. I don't think that it does, but if you have a use case where you want me to where you want to show us that, I would say record how those report links work, kind of give our devs a little bit of information and put that in as a feature request, because I'm thinking that we probably don't have a lot of visibility into all of the different quoting tools. And some of those are each going to have different feature sets and different things going on. So now I've got my download over here. And Jeff reminded us that there was a little bug in that was causing things to time out, and that timeout should be solved for. So they pushed a fix to solve for that one as well. Thanks, Richard. That'll be valuable to our devs, because honestly, they probably aren't even aware of half of the features that exist in these quoting tools. Let's see, is this the last one? Yeah, the last one we're going to dig into is back in customer success. So let's run over to customer success, and you'll see typical lifecycle insight style. We didn't wait till it was working or anything. We just threw some alpha software out here for you guys to beta test and click on buttons and break things. So if you are a customer success partner, we now have an insights report available to you around your customer success. So if you've been going in and walking through a business review and scoring that business review and trying to get some visibility into how the client's doing over time, we're going to be able to show you scoring over time for a client. So here's some history. We're going to be able to show you the answers that you placed here. Did we meet on cadence? Did the decision maker show up? I didn't bother to answer this one, but if I were to dig in here, it opened it in a new window so you guys can't see it. But if I went into my business reviews, I'm going to go in and just make a change real quick. You guys don't have to watch me click on buttons, but if I go into a business review for this customer, oh man, this is the customer I just added 100 business reviews for. 11/14/2022. That's not even on my main page. Anyway, if I were to go back and check this checkbox, you'd see this one get colored as well. And we'll talk about where all this come from. But this is the ability to kind of give me some comparisons over time. I don't have a lot of this information filled in for all my customers, but we can see people RS is really moving in the right direction. We're not quite as good as we'd like it to be over here with creative designs. A bunch of this comes from in VCIO, business reviews. And if you are a customer success user, you'll get some extra buttons here, right? If you're a customer success user, we'll start to track you some business review standards, and we'll talk about, did the decision maker show up? Did we meet on cadence? Did any recommendations get accepted? Was stack alignment improved? And these should be customizable as well, so you can build out your own business review standards to help you identify whether your clients are meeting the goals that you have for them. Steve, you got questions on this one?
Two things. Go back to the customer success. That left hand, well, you start at the dashboard, because that's something that we've noticed. That customer segments, is there a way of speeding that up? Because if we don't change any data, it's very painful.
Yep.
So that was one thing.
I don't have a fix for that, but I think Jeff will tell us the devs are aware and they've been working on it, but I don't know that they have a silver bullet for that one yet. It's parsing a lot of data.
Okay. Now go into CS account settings down on the left, go into stack management. And you gave us some great features here of being able to organize the questions in what order they want, forgetting the tags just on the left side.
Oh,
You've got
here,
the
yep.
ability to move them up and down.
Yep.
There's a ticket in, and Marnie says it's been said, you know, that it's lower priority, but it's really hindering us. If you now go look at the customer detail, the sort order is not the same. So I spent all this time setting that up. And maybe under stack alignment, maybe the next one
Yeah.
down.
Yep.
Yeah. It doesn't sort it in the same order. So while it's, for a lot of people who aren't using CS yet, I can understand why it wouldn't be important, but
Yep.
it's not in a displayable format for our team to use right now.
Yep. Okay.
And it is documented. Marnie has it documented. Just
Okay.
you gave me the perfect opportunity to show you the use case where it's
Yep.
not.
No, that's good. And if others are feeling that pain, go ahead and let support know that, because again, they're going to work on this stuff in the order that that folks request it. And the more we hear about it, the more we're going to drive some extra dev resources to it. So as much as we'd like to think that the day we got acquired, we could throw a bunch of extra resources and everything, obviously there's some ramp up period to get folks to get some of these new resources up to speed where they can help. But we hear you. And if it's documented, it's in the right place. So all we can do is say, go upvote it and, let everybody hear you. All right.
Is that where we're supposed to vote early and often?
Early and often. Yep. Yep. Vote early and often. That is the mantra, right? All right. Anything else?
Yeah, Alex, this is John from Kelly
Yeah.
Connect, had a comment on the tags, since we're specifically here on the CS side within
Yep.
stack alignment.
Yep.
One of the things that I really appreciate about the tags is that it seems to be, a component of a number of different elements
Mhm.
within LCI. It would be nice if on the VCIO side or within Report Builder, we were able to look at where not just opportunities for improved stack alignment were, but where stack alignment exists, and being able to show improvement as opposed to it being a manual process. When you're doing a business review, did stack alignment approve
Mhm.
or improve? Being able to actually look at how stack alignment is actually increasing from a data-driven point
Over time. Yeah.
Yes, as opposed to more of a, hey, I felt like it did, or hey, this is a manual process.
Right.
So really just showing stack alignment relative to the tags, but also in a way that is appropriate to show a partner on the VCIO side, as opposed to like having to do a screenshot and then inserting it into an exported, QBR report that we're doing.
Yep.
Where
Now, are you wanting that as something that's customer facing or something behind the scenes? Because a lot of MSPs aren't really visible. They're not putting stack alignment visible to the customer in that few of words. It's more, hey, here are the places where you're out of alignment with best practices, if you will.
Yep.
But I'm thinking that just in hearing what you're saying, I feel like it belongs right here, right next to one of these with a little graph that says, hey, up or down, and this is how it looked over time. But is that not what you're looking for? Or?
No, it is my preference. I mean, if it was me, I'd say 60% on the customer facing side, just because we use stack alignment for kind of white space analysis on, internally, but we also do it because of the tags that we're using when we're talking about things like best practice. We also align with, like, we have the 7 pillars. It's now the 9 pillars with the Gap Group and Chris Ryan.
Mhm.
Trying to align things with that in order to build a roadmap when we're talking about where we are and where we're going.
Yep.
Being able to forecast that stuff when we talk about stack alignment and opportunities and things like that, like sometimes it's a stepped process. It's not just, hey, this is an emergency or this is a compliance thing. It's more of a, where do you want to get to?
Yeah.
And how do we get there in a responsible way? So being able to show that and improvement over time in a customer facing way is really important to how we are using Report Builder specifically when we're building roadmaps and incorporating things like stack alignment, but also tags throughout on recommendations and on opportunities and things like that, because then it aligns to customer priorities, like things they've told us are important to them as we build engagement. And using this as that tool has been super effective. It's just that's a gap that we see between reporting.
Okay. I would love to have you just kind of put some of that in. If you can even just scribble it on the back of a crayon or on the back of a napkin with a crayon, like send us a picture of, hey, this is kind of how I would envision showing that to my customer.
Yep. No problem.
That might be valuable. Feel free. I don't know if you participate in our Discord channel, but feel free to go hang out in the Discord channel and talk to the rest of the crew about it over there. Because especially if a group of you get together and have a conversation about this and say, hey, this is the reporting that would really drive value for more than one of us, we get more, we're more likely to be able to assign some resources to those kind of things and get it done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good
And
stuff.
yeah, Steve, to your point, a lot of MSPs are using two different things for this, where they can actually show it to the customer as a comparison assessment. And I'm sure you know this, John. I'm sure you're well versed in the comparison assessment, so that we can come out here and say, hey, this is where we found you. This is where you live today. And look at all the places where we've gotten better, or theoretically maybe even gotten worse. The other assessment function that folks use to identify some of that is analytics by all customers, or even analytics per customer, right? If you go per customer, you get to see per category, per assessment, how they've done. So here's the LCI default assessment. Here's how they've scored on it over time. We can go by item and see where they're at risk in all the assessments, but then we can also build the links to recommendations here. But this view here, pretty valuable. If you're using the same assessment over time, you should be able to see improvement. Again, not customer facing, so not something that you can spit out for them. What you might be able to do short term though is screenshot this and say, hey, look, there was a point at which you were a 77. There was a point at which you were a 17. You've been as high as 88, but today you're only at 77. So this might start to give you a little bit of visibility, but you'd have to copy and paste that into a text block template over in Report Builder, right? We'd have to generate some version of this, and I probably would generate a skinnier screenshot, right? Oh, Zoom just got mad. There we go. Zoom doesn't like when I resize its window, especially not that much. You guys still see my screen? Zoom just got really wonky. I don't even have a cursor anymore. So what I was going to do was shrink that and take a screenshot of it, and then take it over into a text block template and report. Oh, there we go. We're back. Certainly didn't shrink my screen, but what I was going to do was, come grab this and put it on my clipboard, and then come over here into Report Builder. And take a text block template and throw that in there. You can always bring in some text to go with it. I typically like to do these things with I like to put these things inside of little tables if I'm going to be putting data around them, just because it lets me format it a little cleaner and a little better. But that is an option that you have. It's not great by any stretch, but it does give you the capability to put some of that in front of your customer. So short term, hopefully that helps. Long term, please give us a better idea of how you want to see that represented, so that we can put it out in front of your customers in a better way. Anything else related to the stuff we talked about today, or unrelated to the stuff we talked about today? Happy to go in any direction you guys want. This is kind of a free for all day for everybody. All right. Well, with that, I guess you guys are ready to rock and roll. So we'll let you go have a good early start to your weekends. I'm not going to tell you to go do another ticket, because Steve has abused me over that, and he told me I'm not allowed to give you guys homework on Friday afternoons. But you got 17 minutes back in your day, and it is 5 o'clock somewhere. So everybody enjoy your weekend, and hopefully I'll see most of you on the road here soon. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks.
Alex.
Bye.